Love lives here.
So here at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide, we have been working with the theme this year of Living Everyday Wonder. Living Everyday Wonder. We've been working with the theme of Living Everyday Wonder. In September, we've been focused more on the aspect of our lives around work or vocation or calling or passion, whatever words you want to apply to that, because even though, as we've established, some folks are retired and y'all are busier than you were before when you were working, right? I see a lot of heads nodding, yep. And so this is an opportunity to expand what we're thinking about in terms of work and looking at it as our work in the world, or as I mentioned, our occupation or our vocation or whatever it is that's calling us to continue to evolve and grow. And last week we talked about living the dream. Not the dream, living your dream, because you can't live somebody else's dream, right? You have to live your own dream. If you're living somebody else's dream, you're really probably living a nightmare. We established that last week, right? Yeah. All right. So this week, we're going to talk about failing forward. Failing forward. Last week, I talked to you about limitations, how we have them, and that might have made some folks feel a little bit uncomfortable, because isn't it all about beyond limits? Isn't it about moving past our limitations? Isn't it about moving past those things? It's like, yeah, but as I was saying, it's like as much as I love to sing in the car, I will never be a Broadway musical star. It will not happen. I sound like Michael Gott in the shower. I do not sound like Michael Gott in front of an audience. Okay, so that's just, but it doesn't prevent me from living or enjoying singing in the car. It doesn't prevent me from vocalizing and expressing and being me. I just realize that, this time around, these vocal cords, they don't make those kinds of sounds. It's okay. It's okay. Yesterday, I want to thank Ray and Greg for the beautiful and fun brush and brunch. We had that in Johnson Hall, so thank you for that. We had about 16 people show up for that and express their art and create art by painting and everything. And what is so fascinating about this, or one of the things, if I look at this, the question of how do you define success versus how do you define failure? How do you define success and how do you define failure? Because yesterday, I think we had a very successful event because we had 16 or 18 people gather together, all having a good time, enjoying food, and enjoying being together in one room, all in creative, artistic expression, right? And we had good chats at the tables that we were at. We were able to talk with one another. We were able to be in each other's presence, and we were able to celebrate each other and celebrate each other's beauty, the beauty that they were creating, right? So that, to me, is super duper successful, right? Because I'm defining success as like, wow, we came together in community. And maybe, I don't know for sure, but maybe some people were like, ugh, I don't know about this art piece that I'm creating. And it's like, ugh. It's kind of hard for me to color in the lines, and it's even harder for me to freestyle with a paintbrush, right? And maybe they found themselves judging the artwork that they were creating or what was being expressed through them. And isn't it funny how we do that to ourselves? Because when you're a baby, right? When you're a baby, you're walking, you're learning how to walk, and you pull yourself up. And then you stand for a bit, and then you let go, and then plop down on your bum, right? And then you pull yourself up again, and maybe you take 1 or 2 steps, and then plop down on your bum. And you take a few more steps, plop down on your bum, until finally you learn how to find your balance, you learn how to find your rhythm, you learn the steps, you learn more about your relationship with gravity, not from a knowledge base, but you're navigating it, you're figuring it out, right? And then once you're able to walk, you have freedom to walk about the country, walk about the airplane, whatever, right? You have the freedom to then begin to move more freely once you have learned to navigate that. So we know that this is the way we learn. We know that this is the way babies learn. We know that this is the way we learned. But yet when it comes to something like art, or something that we haven't experienced yet before, but we're trying something new, some of us have this tendency to want to be like, well, if I can't be like Van Gogh, then forget it, right? On the first go, right? The first time out, I was like, if I can't make the most beautiful picture to hang in my window or to hang in my wall, forget it. So we defeat ourselves. But really what the opportunity is for that is, yes, it may be a quote failure if you're comparing yourself to Van Gogh, but if you're sitting there and going, wow, look at this. I was able to mix these colors and kind of got this really kind of cool color. And I was able to begin to feel what the brush feels like on the canvas. And wow, that's really interesting. And oh, this is kind of fun. I'm kind of enjoying this. And you kind of lean into it rather than coming at it from a perspective of I'm not as good as Van Gogh, coming into it from a perspective of curiosity and wonder and a willingness to continue to explore and experiment and learn. Then you can begin to learn the techniques. You can begin to learn the rules, if you will, or the limitations, if you will, the boundaries, if you will, of what the paint can do, what the brush can do, what the water can do, what the canvas can do, and how those things work together to then create even more. Because you're learning the steps, you're experiencing the steps, you are moving into and learning the limitations of the medium that you're working with. And then once you know what those limitations are, how those things work, then you can really begin to paint beautifully the way Ray does, the way Jocelyn does, the way Anita does. Gorgeous pieces of work. And then who knows, maybe your artwork will be in Riverside Art Museum or in the Louvre, right? But we have this tendency to limit our worldview and clearly define that a success means this, and anything unlike that is a failure. News for you. Van Gogh only sold 1 painting while he was alive. 1. Was he a success? Or was he a failure? Depends on the perspective. I would say he was a success because he brought forth all of that art, all of that creative expression, right? He was living and bringing forth beauty into the world. Whether he got to experience the rewards of that beauty, the rewards of that creativity is, something else. Maybe he didn't think he was a success. Who knows, right? So here at Centers for Spiritual Living, we have this textbook that we call the Science of Mind, right? And this faith, this philosophy, this tradition that we call Science of Mind. And I've shared this with you before, that a science is a systematic a systematic or a methodical study of something. That's a science, right? You're going to systematically and methodically study something, and you're going to do that through inquiry, observation, and experimentation, right? And so if we are looking at a systematic, methodical way of study, what is it that we're studying? We're studying mind, and what is mind really but consciousness? So what we really teach, what we really practice is a systematic, methodical study of consciousness. That's what we're about. That's also what Buddhism is, too, by the way. So that's what we're really about. So what that means then, beloveds, is that we have the opportunity to use our lives as our laboratories and to make inquiry, to then make a hypothesis, to then experiment with it, and then observe the results. So the results, if they are something that we are happy about, woohoo, then we continue that same process, we continue that same pathway, right? So that we continue to repeat more of that which we wish to continue to experience. However, if we try this, or we're looking at our lives and we're inquiring, it's like, why does it have to be this way? What went wrong? I wonder. If we approach something from that questioning place of like, this is really feeling uncomfortable, and I really don't like the way I'm feeling in my life right now. I really don't like the way my job is going right now. I don't really like the way my relationship is going right now. I really don't like these things right now. So if we begin to then observe and inquire, then we can begin to experiment and observe further. And so that is where this wonder piece that we were talking about earlier this year, and we've been talking about all year long, that questioning piece, that curiosity piece can enter into this, and then we can begin to see as like, I wonder what would happen if I tried this. I wonder what would happen if I thought something differently and I placed a different idea into that creative medium, into that soil that always says yes. I wonder what the new result would be if I planted a new thought, a new idea, a new way of thinking, a new belief into that creative medium. I wonder how life would change. I wonder how life would be different. Right? So we have the opportunity to experiment with our lives, experiment with your work, experiment with that vocation or that passion project that you're working on, or that calling, that deep yearning, that deep calling within you that's saying, there's something more for you here. I invite you to begin to ask the questions, and it's the quality of your questions, like what we talked about earlier this year too. It's the quality of those questions that then lead you to greater pathways. If you're only asking yes or no questions, binary questions, you're really limiting your ability to get more information. But if we ask those open-ended questions, if we ask about possibility and we inquire of possibility, then more comes in, more becomes available than just binary yes, no, A, B, true, false thinking, more questioning, right? So each time we get a result that we don't like, that's information. That failure is actually feedback. It's like, oh, okay, that didn't work. I don't like the way that feels either, but I did learn something here. So, okay, let me apply that to the next time. And then we try it again. It's like, okay, getting closer to the goal, getting closer to the path, aligning a little bit further, more coming better into alignment. Okay, that feels good. Made another decision. Interesting result. Don't know that I like that one. Let's write it out for a little bit and see what happens. Right? And then you can course correct all the way along the path. I've shared with you before too that when an airplane flies on autopilot, it's making mistakes the entire trip. It's constantly making a mistake and constantly course correcting. It goes this way and it course corrects. That's how autopilot works. It's constantly course correcting. It's constantly failing the entire time. But it's not really failing. It gets us to where we need to go. It's moving forward all the time. So if you see these failures, if you see these boo-boos, if you see these errors or these mistakes or whatever it is that you want to call it, if you see them as growth opportunities, then you're just like, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I experience from this? How do I grow with this? What is here and available for me to be able to move forward? And so then we are failing forward. we continue to move forward in that. Mr. Toyota, who founded Toyota, had the 5 whys. Do you remember the 5 whys? Yeah? No? No? No. It's like, go back and watch March. No, the 5 whys, Mr. Toyota created the 5 whys for a constant improvement process. So when a system fails or when something doesn't work at the Toyota Corporation, there's some piece that doesn't work, communication didn't happen right, something doesn't work, then they go through the process of the 5 whys, and they go, why? And then they answer that question. And then why did that happen? And then they answer that question. And then why, and then why, and then why, getting down 5 whys, because when you get down to the 5 whys, then usually you come to the source or to the original cause, the original negative belief, the original hidden belief, rather, or the original negative thought. You get down to that original cause, so this is a tool that we can use, the 5 whys, get you down to that original thing. It's like, okay, there's where I need to make the difference. There's where I need to shift my consciousness. There's where I need to shift my thinking. There's where I need to shift my belief. And when we know what the cause is, then we can do what? We can find the opposite of it. So by knowing what we don't want, knowing what we don't want to experience, or knowing what the hidden belief is, or the unconscious belief, or the negative thought process is, by knowing what that is, we then have the ability and the choice to change it, to then pick something new, to then elect to go another direction, to make the changes. And then what happens when we make those changes? We set a new cause in motion, right? This is the basic law of cause and effect, yes? So Edison, in discovering the light bulb or inventing the light bulb, failed 10,000 times. And he said that he never looked at it as failure. He says, I've not failed. That's what he said. I've not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that didn't work. It's true, right? He found, because each time something didn't work, a tweak, an adjustment, a recalibration, a movement. So 10,000 times. Right? And then Einstein, another scientist, since we're talking science, another scientist said that failure is success in progress. Right? So failure is simply success in progress. So how are you defining success? How are you defining failure? In your own life, in your own experience. And if you are experiencing failures, what opportunities are really there waiting for you in that failure? What opportunity for growth is saying, hey, how you doing? Come on along, let's play. I have a new idea for you. Let me help you out. Ernest Holmes says this about failure. Failure does not mean the loss of something. Failure occurs only if the loss of the thing takes our enthusiasm, our courage, our zest for life, our faith, our connection, and our happiness from us. That is failure indeed. So it's about a mindset. That if we are attached to the outcome, if we are attached to our old ways of being, if we are attached to our old thoughts, our old feelings, our old beliefs, and we oh, I'm a failure, and we just wrap our arms around it, and then we live in that place and just luxuriate in it, marinate in it, well then, yeah, that's a failure. But if we open ourselves up the opportunity, there's the opportunity for growth. So statesman Winston Churchill said that success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. Stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. Another statesman you might know, Abraham Lincoln, said, my great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure. So, beloveds, I ask you, are you willing to allow the shortcomings? Are you willing to allow the failures? Are you willing to allow the errors, the mistakes, that wasn't so good, to teach you something? Are you willing? Yes. A couple of you are. Well, that's okay. Failing forward propels us with each new opportunity for growth. So, failing can teach us, or we can learn. That's what I'm looking for. When we say fail, we can learn a fascinating and informative lesson. Fascinating and informative lesson. Fail. So every time you come up against that fail, you can look at it and go, oh, this is a fascinating and informative lesson. Oh, another fascinating and informative lesson. Another fascinating and informative lesson. And when we begin to shift our perspective to it being another fascinating and informative lesson, then what we can then do is we can jump into or experience a freeing and inspiring leap forward. We can experience a freeing and inspiring leap forward. So now you have two things for fail. A freeing and expiring leap and inspiring, not expiring, inspiring leap forward. So are you ready to leap? Yes. Are you ready to leap? Yes. Are you ready to leap? Yes. All right, here we go. I invite our practitioners to please stand and surround the sanctuary, and I invite any visiting practitioners or ministers, Reverend Laura Hallett, to please stand and surround the sanctuary, join our chamber of prayer here. All of these beloveds are in service to this community in prayer, and I also invite our core council members to please stand and join them. So Bill, if you want to stand, and Earl, to join them as well as we come together in consciousness. So I invite you to take a nice deep breath in and out. The inspiration, inspiring, the breath of life, the breath of God, the one breath that is the one power, the one presence that is forever expressing itself, forever maintaining and sustaining its beloved creation. Spirit, the divine, the one, the all in all. And I know that this one is wisdom, this one is infinite intelligence, it is the love intelligence that brought forth all of creation, that brought forth all of life, that was so inspired, that was so creative, that it created everything that's possible, seen and unseen. That all of it is the manifest body of the divine. All of it is the manifest body and expression and emanation and impartation of itself. It is all consciousness expressing. And as I know that this is true of spirit, as I know that this is true of life itself, I know that I am one with this one life, this one power, this one presence, this one love intelligence lives, breathes, and moves and has its being in, through, and as me, and I in, through, and as it. That we are inseparable from one another, that there is no other, in fact. There simply is just the one life present here and now. And as I know that this is true of me, I know that this is true of everyone gathered here this day, online, at home, watching later. Each one is the power and the presence of love. Each one is the power and the presence of life made manifest. Each one The one mind expresses through and as each one's mind that there is no separation, that the divine intelligence, the love intelligence, the divine wisdom of the ages, the peace that passes understanding is present right here, right now, within each individualized expression of itself, each individualized person gathered here this day. And so I speak my word here and now, recognizing that evolution moves forward, that it is love constantly moving forward. Evolove, moving forward. It is love. Evolution is love moving forward. Therefore, there is only one place for us to fall, and that is to fall forward. That is to fail forward. That is to be free and inspired and take that leap forward in faith in the one, trusting and knowing that we are divinely guided, divinely supported in all that we do. When we are in alignment with, we are always supported, but when we are in alignment with that, we truly move forward in powerful, magnificent, and glorious ways. And we relax into that, we rest into that knowing, and we are continually drawn, pulled forward. And though we may stumble, we pick ourselves up and go, okay, yeah, I learned something new today. Let me take a different type of step, a bigger step, a smaller step, whatever it is. Let me respond to the guidance being shared and being given through the divine wisdom, that still small voice within me. And so this day, I say yes to spirit. I say yes to life. I say yes to failing forward graciously and gratefully and messily and in great fun and great joy. I give thanks knowing that Spirit's got me always. Spirit is always holding me. I am enveloped in it. And any obstacle that may be in my way, I know that Spirit moves it, Spirit clears it. It is moved, it is done, it is done. So I give thanks for all of it, and I release this word now, knowing it is so. The truth is true. I let it be, and so it is.
Love